what Rob and Drew said. As we know, an approaching storm is railing fast against us. It is the UNCRC.
And to speak up
Okay.
a little bit. Yeah.
If the UNCRC is passed, it then in turn poses a significant danger to the fundamental foundation of the American family. All decisions made by the parents must be made acceptable and made satisfactory for the child. If it is not, then the government has the ability to overrule whatever the parent has decided to do. As Drew has shown and has stated, there is only one way to protect ourselves from the UNCRC, and that is making an amendment to the Constitution. For right now, I would like to talk about current progress and what comes next in our nation. Due largely to the parentalrights.org, there has been growing exposure to parental rights. Parentalrights.org is a coalition of individuals bringing together their time, talents, and resources to help teach people and expand the awareness of parental rights. The documentary is now about this issue, and now they're having a signing petition, which many have signed. We, as a nation, are one of the only two nations in the world who have not done the UNCRC. So of all the countries in the world, we are one of the only two who have not signed on. And we need to keep it that way for the better of our country. The Parental Rights Amendment, as my brother Drew has shown, is already outlined. It just needs to be placed in an amendment. But of course, as we just learned, it is very difficult to do so. In the courts, it has currently been in the courts of our nation, it has currently been an issue whether parental rights are already wrote into the Constitution. Sure, our parental rights is sprinkled throughout the Constitution, but is not explicitly said or discussed in the Constitution, and therefore it is not law. The danger of implied rights is that their meaning is never entirely stable, and parental rights is an implied right. So that means the court has the ability to change or do whatever they want with that implied right. At this moment, parental rights is in a cautious and rather precarious state because it is facing possible dismantlement by courts. Across the country, many judges are beginning to deny the vital role of parents. They decided that they are going to insert the government into the parents' role for the children. The parents aren't going to rule the children. Nobody's going to rule the children but the government. And that's what they want. But at the same time, some Supreme Court judges have declared that parental rights are among the most revered and respected rights and fundamental rights of our nation. This, however, is not guaranteed because it is not explicitly say in the Constitution. Instead, parental rights are among the liberties that are guaranteed to every American in the 14th Amendment. And the 10th Amendment does not guarantee parental rights are set in place. Thankfully, our nation hasn't totally done away with the standard we've set for ourselves. In the past, in the courts, our nation has reflected the American people's long-standing commitment to parental rights. There have been court cases where parental rights have been positively used. During the case of Prince v. Commonwealth of Massachusetts in 1944, it was said, "It is cardinal with us that the custody, care, and nurture of the child reside first in the parents, whose primary function and freedom include preparation for obligations the state can neither hither nor supply. It is in recognition of this that these decisions have respected the private realm of family life, and the state cannot enter." And it was spoken in another case, that our decisions establish that the Constitution protects the sanctity of the family precisely because the institution of the family is deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition. It is through the family that we repeat and pass down many of our most cherished values, moral and cultural. But now, our sanctity of life is sadly being choked down by too much government interference in the family. There have been numerous and recent stories where parental rights should have been used, but instead, the government has made their own decisions. I'd like to give you a story of a 13-year-old girl who was involved in the use of illegal drugs. Now, that's the key word, illegal. Her parents heard what she was caught up in and decided to cut off her bad influence in a basic way. They simply grounded her. They didn't beat her, they didn't punish her too bad, just grounded her. That way she would have the bad influence stop penetrating her mind. After she was grounded, she sought counsel from the school counselor. The school counselor gave the teenage girl some helpful advice. The helpful advice was to contact Child Protective Services to take her out of the house. That way she could do whatever she decided. She notified Child Protective Services about her situation, and she was subsequently removed from her home and placed in foster care. Her parents, desperate to get her back, challenged the use of the social workers in court. The parents lost, even though the judge had decided that the young lady's parents had enforced reasonable rules in a proper manner. The state nevertheless gave Child Protective Services the authority to split apart the family and take the teenage girl away. All because she objected to her parents' punishment. Nevertheless, she was involved in illegal drugs. and taken away from her home because she didn't agree with her parents on appropriate and solid punishment. In 2010, in the news alone, there's been over 40 news articles that have a link to parental rights. Many of these show the desperate need that parental rights is in. All others show the positive influence that parental rights does have on the family. So what happens now? What simply happens now is we keep pressing on toward our goal. Much of what is happening is feeding us in a negative way, but much of it can be shown as light. We need to follow the examples such as states such as Montana and Idaho, who have already accepted that they're going to fully support the amendment. What happens now is at the community and at local level, for individuals to know the potential dangers of the UNCRC and to spread those potential dangers to others. That way they can know and also spread it about. It starts at local government, where it then expands to a national government ordeal. It does not take a village to raise a child. That's not a necessary need in the equation. Parents are. Real quick, I would like to give some supporters of the amendment. These are some organizations that support the amendment. Number one is the National Rifle Association. This is largely due because the National Rifle Association wants guns. And with the UNCRC, guns are not allowed. The child is raised in a gun-free environment. The Family Research Council, many organizations that fight for safe internet use for children. A few organizations who help children suffer from autism support the amendment. The HSLDA and other groups who support homeschooling and family stand true to the parental rights amendment. Organizations who fight against human trafficking stand alive to the parental rights amendment. Our nation is on the way of a vitally important issue, and we are standing with it. Things might not look the brightest at this moment, but with God's help, I'm sure we can transform what is going on and head in the right direction for the sake of the next generations and my generations. Thank you. Now I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Rob Wagner, who has a few comments to go through. Thank you.
A couple things to mention to you. Drew mentioned briefly that there's a documentary out on parental rights. It's called The Child. I have a copy of it. This one's out right now, but if anybody's interested in seeing that, we can pass that around. I'm interested in showing that somewhere down here in the Nuevo-Fremont area. It's a really interesting and informative documentary. I have some handouts here that I'll pass around to everybody, and then there's a little bit more of a variety over on the table in the corner. I also have a petition that I'll pass around shortly here. If you would like to sign the petition for the Parental Rights Amendment, you can do that. It'll also give you an opportunity to get on their mailing list. Parental Rights does a good job with their mailing list. They send out enough updates to keep us informed, but not make us jump off it most of the time. And I think that's all we have for now, unless there are any questions.
Hey, Rob. We have a second amendment that says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed, yet this treaty, you said even the NRA is concerned that the treaty would violate that. How is putting a parental rights amendment in going to stop the treaty as the second amendment does?
The language of the Parental Rights Amendment, which you have on the handout there, you can read when you get to it, is very precise. So we, 100 years ago, there would have been no issue. Everybody would have recognized parental rights as a fundamental right. There's really enough in the Constitution. But now, even some of our conservative justices are saying we would rule in favor of parental rights if you gave us a text, but we don't have a precise enough text. That's part of the reasoning there. Yes?
Thanks very much, Rob. That was well done, and I appreciate you coming in and doing that. You're very well prepared. I like what you had to say. My question is what is the, overall status of the movement to create this amendment to the Constitution? just in general? Is it a certain number of states have already come out and supported that, or where is the organization at with moving that amendment forward?
It's a very good question. Yes, there are some states. There are a number of organizations, hundreds of thousands of individuals. The good news is that comparatively and ratio-wise, the support for the UNCRC is down here, while the support for the Parental Rights Amendment is up here. So yes, there are a number of states. Some states have not committed, but there are many states that have. There are many individuals who have already signed the petition, and it's a very overall good outlook for the rights movement.
The bill was introduced in the U.S. House last year, and we did quite well in the House. The Senate was harder, of course, last year. Last year we introduced a resolution against the UNCRC. See, they need 67 people, so we need 34 to prevent them from getting 67. Last year, we pulled teeth to get 33, and we never could do any better. This year, as of just a couple of days ago, we're now up to 37. So we're making progress. The Parental Rights Amendment itself is still in process of being reintroduced.
What's the time frame so far?
Last year was the first year that we saw significant action in Congress. Last year, a number of states passed resolutions in support of it. This year, we now have resolutions in progress in almost every state.
Do you foresee we're going to have to wait until the next election to get this through?
I don't know. Probably. With the Senate. Probably.
And what's the chance that the president will sign that treaty before the amendment happens?
We were really concerned about that last year. This year, it's still a concern, but with our 37 members that have signed the opposing bill in the House, we think that we may be on our way to having a roadblock there. We'd like to have more like 40 people on our side so that if we lose a few, we're still up.
In my mind, there's like a quality part to the parental rights amendment. What it is I 90% agree with what's being said here. But what does this do to the children's rights for the children that are like mentally or physically abused? Will the government still be able to intervene? Is that what Section 2 of this means?
Exactly.
So the children will still be protected as human beings.
Correct.
By the government. In the event of abuse of parents or neglected parents.
Correct. And we have that in other areas of the law. So I have freedom of speech, but I don't have freedom of libel. And so other rights, when I break the law and I get put in jail, a lot of my rights are taken away. And the same thing is true of this. It does not give parents the right to break all other existing laws because they have the Parental Rights Amendment.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Yes, that's a good question. Thank you.
A lot of these examples you're giving are abuses among our states. So I see the second section, it's ignoring the state, is kind of putting